you have to hit okay. Anyway.
That's it. Just turn me on, turn me up, and turn me loose.
And we're live.
Hey, y'all.
How y'all doing?
Hello, everybody. Everybody in chat, all the moderators, thank you for being here. What's up, people? Squirrel.
Yes.
You managed to not get got the other night, and House is still with us. So let me just say, without going into detail, just so everybody watching knows, Squirrel's stupid, and she just loves possibly getting got. Anyway.
I knew you couldn't resist bringing that up.
Hey, I didn't bring it up yesterday when I was on here by myself, and you wouldn't have even been here to defend yourself. But no, I waited till you were here.
Yeah, that's fine. That's all right. Hey, we made it. That's all that matters. And
There's no need in safety protocols. I mean, that's just crazy talk.
I try. I was trying to be the voice of reason this time. So, you know, I just had to go along because I wasn't going to let her get got alone.
Hey, will you type in for the new Night Owls, just the straight up Night Owls 1313, and let's throw it on the Chiron down on the bottom so that people can see it. I didn't have it whenever I jumped on yesterday. I didn't think about it before I got on there. So, number one, first and foremost, I'm going to reiterate what I said yesterday, just off the top, and then we'll get on with the show. Squirrel and Greg have their own channel, Night Owls, just like they have always done the Night Owls on Woodwalkers. Now it's a separate channel on YouTube, but YouTube's algorithm is funky, and until you start like actually putting out some videos and you get X amount of people subscribed, it takes a little while for you to be able to find it very easily. It throws up all the other channels that have anything to do with something Night Owl spelled different ways. It's difficult to find. So, number one, just go on YouTube and type in Night Owls 1313. I'm going to spell it capital NIGHT, capital OWLZ 1313. No spaces. If you type that in, scroll down past the shorts, and you will see the regular Night Owls logo. And please go subscribe to that. Let's get them up to 1,000 real quick, and then the algorithm will be perfectly fine after that. But pretty please. Also, like I said yesterday, go if you have not seen it yet, please check out Hooters United. Please check out Roger's first show on Untold Radio Network. You have to go to Untold Radio Network and scroll down and find Squatch and Holler. Episode 1 is Greg and Kumba. Which leads me into, wait, there was one more thing. I forget what it was.
Well, go ahead, Misty. Are we doing a show tonight, or what are we doing?
I guess we are since Wendell said we was.
If
Yeah.
I knew that's what it took,
How
I
did
would.
Wendell? How
If
did
I knew
Wendell?
that's what it took, I'd got Wendell to set it up before now.
Yeah,
I mean, what do you do? So I guess, yeah, I guess so.
Wendell, what are you doing? You're just out there publicly. Hey, new Night Owl show on Sunday night. Man,
I'm proud of you, Wendell.
there's- it's not on Sunday nights necessarily.
I guess this one will be.
Oh,
I mean, when you get the 911 call, you got to answer.
hey, he's the security detail. I guess if he sets a rule, you got to follow it.
That's right.
Speaking of Rogers,
Wendell knows how to get shit done.
Yeah.
speaking of Rogers' first show, which was Greg and Kumbo, everybody, if you don't know this guy,
really good show.
please allow me to bring out another Rolling Stone that totes along with Kumbo and Greg and all of them. This is Mr. Jim Osmer. Jim, how's it going, sir?
Doing well. How y'all?
Just
Good.
for you. Happy. He just said he's doing well.
You better hush. I'm not talking to you. I was talking to him.
He just said how he was doing.
Doing well. Doing very well. For an old fat man, I do exceedingly well.
Yeah.
Jimmy's going so strong he can't even retire. He's supposed to retire a year ago and he won't do it.
Yeah.
My phone won't let me. I got to throw my phone away if I'm going to retire. My wife's not crazy about the idea of me retiring either, so there's that.
Well, so you got to throw the phone away and the wife away? That'd be difficult.
Oh, no. Phone could go. She's got to stay. So
Oh, okay.
I got to work, so be it.
Yeah, you gotta be able to come home to something after working all day.
That is very true.
For everybody that doesn't know, Jim, little backstory on who you are, where you live, where you came from, and how the heck you got into Bigfoot.
Uh-oh. We've lost Jimmy's sound.
There's no volume, Jim. Can't hear anything.
He was going good for a second.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Now we got you.
Okay. I was born and raised in North Alabama, about a half hour from the Tennessee state line, about a half hour from the Tennessee River. And lived here most of my life. I went off to college in West.
We lost him again.
Really?
What's going
There,
on
now
with
he's
your
back.
microphone?
Now he's back.
It's say something.
Something.
There we go.
3 testing.
You're
All right.
working.
Try it again then.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can hear you now.
Okay. I lived actually about 7.5 years over in Northwest Georgia, and I moved back to Alabama in 1987. Been here ever since. Probably gonna die here. As a child, I was a country boy. Fished, hunted, had a cotton field in the front yard, and one in the backyard for several years. Then we moved to a new house, had a cotton field in the backyard. Not much of an athlete, typical, little nerdy kid. Heard about the Patterson Gimlin film. That was very interesting to me at the time as a young guy. But, I didn't think about Bigfoot too much. But over the years, a few things happened that kind of made me scratch my head and go, And then in 2017, I decided I'm interested. I'm going to find out about this stuff. And I had heard the Bigfoot Crossroads podcast and heard those guys that sounded like me. And, they kind of grew up the same way I did. So I decided I'm going to get some questions answered. So I started looking around, and I was able to get a cell phone number for Tim Kumbo Baker. And at that time, he was working in Missouri. And I got him on the phone and told him, I said, okay, this is who I am. This is where I am. If you're the Tim Baker that's into Bigfoot, I want to talk to you if you've got time to talk to me. But if you don't, just tell me and I'll lose your number and I'll never bother you again. He said, oh, no. He said, I'll be glad to talk to you. Well, we started to talk, and both of us growing up in North Alabama, we actually found out that we had worked together in the same company for several years. We knew each other and had a lot of mutual friends, but we'd never discussed Bigfoot. So on the heels of that conversation, Tim invited me to an outing they had out in Oklahoma in 2018. And I went out there and met a lot of nice people, and a lot of people that if I name drop, but I'll forget some of them. So I'm not going to do that. But anyhow, we had a real interesting trip out there. And I actually on that trip saw my first booger. But it was such a brief sighting for such a short amount of time that I questioned as to whether I'd actually seen what I saw. Well, fast forward about a year and a half, and I got up one night, couldn't sleep, got in my truck and drove to a spot on the Tennessee River about 50 miles, 60 miles from home in a wildlife management area. And didn't know it at the time, but the river was at flood stage. It was slightly out of the banks. And I had been to this area before in the daytime, and I knew the layout. There's a road that went around under the river bridge and came out on the other side of the highway. So I was going to drive under the bridge, circle around, and check things out. Well, lo and behold, I drive off down there, and the road is flooded. Well, I'm not the smartest guy you ever ran into, but I'm smart enough not to drive into floodwaters, especially, 50 feet from the Tennessee River, because you never know what could be there. So I'm sitting there trying to figure out how I'm going to turn around on this 2-track road. And in front of me, in the shadow of the bridge, something starts to stand up. And it stands up, and it stands up, and it stands up till it's over 10 feet tall. It's over 4 feet wide at the shoulders. It's got a head the size of a washpot. I'm sitting there with my high beams flashing his eyes, and he throws his arm up over his eyes like this and starts screaming. Well, okay, I have now officially got a full frontal view of an alpha Bigfoot. So immediately I said, I can't go forward. I got to go backward. So I looked into my right-hand rearview mirror, and about 25, 30 yards behind me on my right is a 6'5", 6'6", 300-pound booger. Well, by this time I'm about to, mark my laundry. I look in my left mirror because I got to figure out how to turn around and get out of there. And there's another one standing about the same distance behind me on the left side. So I got Dad and the two bookend linebackers, and I'm in the middle of a triangle death box. I've never done this before, never had, and I haven't tried it since. But I pulled a bootleg turn in reverse. And I left that spot that night rather rapidly. Matter of fact, when I hit the highway on the gravel road coming in at a 90-degree angle to the state highway, I was probably doing 65 miles an hour. And it looked like something out of Dukes of Hazzard when I came out of the river bottom up on that causeway to the highway.
I'll bet.
So I drive down into the nearest town, and there's a McDonald's that's open all night. So I pulled off in there, and I got me a cup of coffee to steady my nerves. Anyway, long story short, I started researching that place really heavy. And Tim Smallwood's one of my main guys that have been up there with me. We have found numerous tracks. We've got thermal images. There are Bigfoots all in that wildlife management area in the river bottom there. So that's the story of my first official, yeah, I saw a booger. Yeah, I saw 3. Yeah, I left. Yes, I am scared. Yeah. Yep. I would tell you what Larry Porch II called me, but it's not family appropriate. But anyway, he challenged my manhood. I said, you weren't there.
You can't listen to Porch.
Yeah, well, Larry's my buddy.
No,
But
he
anyway,
ain't. He just makes you think that. Uh,
that's
hey,
okay. As long as he keeps Debbie around, he's okay with me.
right. That's the only reason I hang out with him.
There you go.
Okay, hold on. We'll come back and go, just so everybody knows, we'll come back and go over the descriptions of the boogers and everything. I don't care
Yeah, I
about
would
that.
more than welcome any questions. And, you know, I'm not Kumbo. I'm not as detail oriented. You know, I don't know if this booger was left-handed or right-handed, or
Yeah.
you know, I can tell you which direction I was facing and which direction he was facing. But as far as you know, the exact GPS and all that, I just don't. My mind doesn't work that way.
Well, when you saw, first of all, if you went to the wildlife management area, you said you had been there before in the daylight. I assume you probably told Kumbo and said, "Hey, I'm going to start looking at this area because it's close to my house and everything." Did you have any reason to think that they were there before you saw them there?
Well, I had researched before down closer to Decatur, Alabama, in the Wheeler Wildlife Refuge, and I knew they were on the river down there. I had been on both sides of the river. Greg and Kumbo were talking about one of those trips the other day when they did their podcast with
Robert.
Squatch and Holler. But anyway, that particular trip was on the Tennessee River, and then I'd made dozens, if not hundreds, more on the north side of the river in Wheeler Wildlife Refuge. And I'd seen tracks. I'd have been bluff charged down there. I'd heard them scream at me. You know, they're definitely on the river. So I thought that's a good place to go. And at one time, that I wasn't the only one in the refuge that was researching. So I think a couple of times I called down there, and the other researcher might have been answering me. We might have been calling back and forth to one another. But anyway, I was looking for a new area and one a little closer to where my friend Tim Smallwood lived. That time he was living over east of Gunnersville, around Grove Oak, Alabama, near Buck's Pocket. So the area we were at, or I was at that night, would have been a lot closer for him. And subsequently, we went back in there numerous times, and like I said, had a lot of success with tracks, and we actually got some good thermal footage, and got a visual of what I believe to be a mother and her offspring in there.
Really? Well, on the one where you were surrounded, where you went down there at night.
Yes, sir.
What time of year was it?
It was early spring, and like I said, the river was in flood stage. It had we'd had a lot of rain that spring, and I thought going upstream would probably be better from going downstream, which is the reason I went that way.
Right.
You know, back to the northeast from my house rather than going to the southwest to Wheeler. So I was in the upper extremities of Gunnersville Lake, without saying too much about the location, where it actually was more river than backwater, and thinking that the water might have come down there more than it had. Of course, it was still out of the banks. Kind of missed my plan, but I didn't really expect to be 20 seconds off the pavement and see one, you know. I'm still sitting there. I'm sitting there in the truck, just flabbergasted. I've got a thermal. I've got night vision equipment. I've got a low light video camera, and all that was just sitting there beside me in the seat while I said, you know, I'm going to be leaving. Fight or flight instinct has kicked in. Flight 1. I'm out of here. So you know,
did you have the windows down?
I had the driver's side window cracked. It was cool that night, and I could see the vapor from the booger's breath, the big one that was in front of me in my headlights. I could see steam from him breathing in front of me. Now, let's put this in perspective. I might have been 80 feet from the front bumper of my truck where this booger was standing. So he's right there. I'm looking him right in the belly button. Okay, when he stood up, this thing is humongous, tall as a basketball, going wide as a dump truck's what I tell people, with a head like a washpot. He was huge. And people say, what color? Well, he was wet from the waist down because he'd been squatted down. I'm assuming that they were trying to catch fish that had come up in the floodwaters, that the three of them were together, you know. And when they saw my lights, they spread out. That's my assumption. I don't know.
Did you hear anything? Was there any vocalizations? Was there?
The big guy was screaming. I not only heard it, I felt it through the windshield of the truck with the defroster running wide open. I mean, it was. I'm sure if there was anybody out on a boat or fishing downstream, that they heard it too, because it was just a ridiculous roar. I can't even begin to duplicate it. I mean, I could feel it in my chest.
Did they throw anything at you?
No, I didn't stay long enough. Big guy screaming. He wanted me to leave. I left, and I think they were content to let me leave. I mean, I was scared to death. You know, if I hadn't been to the bathroom earlier that night, I'm certain I would have been, you know. But they let me leave. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind while I was trying to maneuver that truck and turn it around, if they wanted to, they'd have stopped me. But I think they just wanted me to leave. I think he was ticked off because I was shining bright lights in his eyes. And I think the two younger ones or smaller ones were just there going to do what Big Daddy said, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's all guesswork on my part because I've never interviewed one, so I don't know how they think. But, you know, I've been around animals my entire life. We had cattle and so forth when I was growing up. You know, they will let you know when they're unhappy with you, whether it's a goat or a dog or a cow or whatever. They have a way of letting you know when they're upset. He was definitely upset.
I'd left too. Did you go back the next day or a couple days later or anything?
I went back with Smallwood probably a week, maybe 10 days later. I don't keep a journal because I'm not trying to write a book or make money off of my Bigfoot research is strictly to satisfy my own curiosity.
Yeah.
And, you know, if I can share something with somebody, I'm more than happy to do it. But, you know, I'm sort of a private person. I don't go out and, you know, okay, I'm an expert on Bigfoot. I want to talk to you. Give me $50 and I'll tell you everything I know. That ain't me, you know. But we did go back, and the area where he was standing, I thought, you know, there might be a deep footprint or something there, even though the water, you know, had receded. Yeah. But it was gravel, packed gravel on the base, basically the road bed, you know, the base of the causeway leading up to the bridge over the river. So it was packed hard stuff, you know, with a few potholes in it where the water had washed the gravel out. Never found any tracks in that general area, but on down the riverbank and in another area that you actually have to access from another county road, we found several good tracks.
How big? Like of the big guy or normal size track?
Actually, I showed those tracks to Kumbo, and he thought that they were female. They're in the neighborhood of 16 inches, but they weren't quite as wide. But they were deep. She was obviously, you know, 350, 400 pounds because the area we found them was river bottom clay mixed with crushed limestone gravel for the road bed, the side of the road.
Did he think they were female because they had the more pronounced curve to it?
That was what he thought. Now I'll let Jeff Meldrum analyze the tracks. You know,
yeah.
I'll take pictures. You know, I've never casted a track, don't intend to, but I'll take photographs and you know. But Kubo seemed to think was a female, that she might have been pregnant because of the way that they spread out.
Yep.
He's got a lot more experience with that than I do. I started seriously researching in 2017. You know, I was almost 60 years old when I started, you know. But I had weird things happen, fishing down uh, between Huntsville and Decatur on the Tennessee River, 2 o'clock in the morning in a nighttime bass tournament. 50, 60 feet off the bank, had rocks the size of bowling balls thrown at us. My
You
fishing
did?
partner.
Really?
2 different occurrences, one about a year apart. In the same 150, 200 yard stretch of the bank, we got rocks thrown at us in the middle of the night. And I tell you, something that'll make you abandon a nighttime fishing spot is to have a rock the size of a bowling ball or a basketball hit 10 feet in front of your trolling motor on your bass boat.
So none of them hit the boat. It was just all around it.
Oh, he could have hit the boat. He was telling us to leave.
Yeah. How many rocks? How many rocks were thrown?
One each time. We had one rock thrown each time, about a year apart. I was fishing in a club, and you know, we pretty much duplicated our schedules, you know, from year to year. We would fish daytime on Saturdays until it got hot, and then in the summer months we would fish at night, like 5 o'clock till 2, or 6 o'clock till 3, something like that.
Whenever the rocks were thrown, was there any branch breaks or any screams or
no, never heard
or
anything, because we were fishing, you know, and you hear the frogs, and you'll hear beaver's tails slap the water, and you'll hear fish making the different sounds that fish make, feeding and all that. Plus, my fishing partner is a diesel mechanic, and he was pretty deaf. I mean, he heard the rock splash. Matter of fact, the second year that it happened, I pulled the trolling motor up from the casting deck, and he was under the wheel with the big motor running before, you know, he was ready to leave. So we haven't been down there at night since. You know, that the interesting thing about that, I told Kubo about those occurrences. He had a daytime sighting hunting and within a couple of 100 yards of where we were, which was in the Wheeler Wildlife Refuge again, but this was the south side of the river, and they had black powder deer hunting season, and he was in there with a muzzle loader and had one walk in on him.
Sitting on that tree stump.
Within just a few 100 yards where I had the 2 rocks thrown at us.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
So, you know, things like that happened over a period of years got me interested. And then I did, when I first started, I went to the BFRO website, looked up everything in the counties that they had on the free side. And I went back to each of those places where there was a report in Madison, Jackson, and Morgan and Marshall counties, those 4 counties that border where I live, the one where I live and the 3 that border it. I went back as close as I could get to each one of those BFRO reports, and just for my own education, you know, looking to see if I could pick up a pattern in the area, the type of topography or the type of trees, or was there near water, all these things, you know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I kind of trained myself to do the research, by trying to recreate what other people had already done.
Well, hold on.
Where there had been confirmed sighting.
Hold on. What did you figure out comparing the terrain? What did you figure out?
Pretty much all of those sightings were near water. One of them actually was within 100 feet of the Redstone Arsenal boundary, Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, and right next door to the Marriott Hotel by the Space Camp. If you're familiar with Space Camp, there was a sighting there at the Marriott Hotel beside Space Camp. Just outside the northern boundary fence of NASA Marshall Space Flight Center Redstone Arsenal reservation there. But that's just a mile or so from the Tennessee River, maybe 2 miles through the woods. but there's several creeks and ponds and an old rock quarry within just a few, within a half mile to a mile of that. But that's, other than being right there by the base, it's actually in the city, pretty much settled. The rest of them are pretty much out in the country. At least they were at the time that the reports were made. One of them was on Green Mountain, which is actually in the city of Huntsville now, but it was from the 40s, and at that time it was just a wild mountain, had a half dozen houses on the top. Well, all the roads weren't even paved at that time. Of course, there wasn't too much way to figure out what actually happened up there, except that there's a whole lot of rough country, a whole lot of booger habitat, caves, shelter caves, springs, and things of that nature.
Yeah, but Alabama and that southern Tennessee part, the damn things are everywhere. North Georgia, they're everywhere. And I mean, I can completely believe one being, right there beside a motel. I mean, it's like Mark Green in Sylacauga, where that big creek runs through the center of town. I mean, a guy was walking home from work at night and looked over that bridge right there in the center of town. There was a booger down there yet looking at him.
Well, there are several mountains inside the city limits of Huntsville. One of them, the best known, is Montesano, and it has a state park on top of it. Well, the foothills of Montesano they've built houses on the slopes, and there's been several sightings of something robbing trash cans, going over 6-foot high privacy fences and things like that. Which I know what it is. You know what it is. People that live there probably don't want to know what it is. But like I said, there's springs and caves and shelters and all sorts of places they can hide out. It's interesting to me, Huntsville is built on top of a limestone karst labyrinth of caves. And there are several natural cave entrances in the Huntsville area that have been barred and blocked off.
Really?
And I think I know why. To keep them interacting. There's a story about I forget what they call it now, but back in the 70s, there was a white furred or gray furred booger that was seen quite a bit in the Huntsville area.
Yeah.
And this may be one of the Alabama white thing stories. I don't know.
It is.
In the late 70s, there was a real interesting YouTube article on it. I can't remember what they call the thing exactly, but it was seen all over Huntsville in residential areas, up on the mountain near the state park, down on the south side on Green Mountain. My understanding is that some of those cave entrances were gated off at that time because of that activity. So we've got a history of it. Plus, if you've ever been into spelunking or cave exploring, the TAG, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia area is just riddled, honeycombed with caves. I mean, we've got them everywhere.
I think caves are a perfect structure for them to be in. I just don't think they have a need to be in them all the time. Maybe at certain times.
I think they use them. There's one less than a mile from where I'm sitting right now. I'm on top of a mountain just south of Highway 72 when you come through Gurley, going from Scottsboro, Alabama to Huntsville. And there's a cave formation it's got a spring called the Sophie Hole. Legend says there was an old mixed race woman. They say I've heard two stories. One that she was half Native American and half African American, and the other one that she was half Native American and half white. I don't know, but the legend says Sophie lived there in that cave for many, many years. I know where it is. Like I said, it's actually on my neighbor's property, less than a mile from my house. But nobody goes there anymore that I know of. But it would be a good place for them to pass through and spend the night or something.
Since you live in a more rural area, do you ever have anything right there at your house? Do you ever hear anything? Or
that's really interesting. I don't. I hear coyotes and the occasional bobcat. I see a fox from time to time. Of course, we've got raccoons and possums and squirrels, and down in the bottom we got more than enough beavers, goodness knows, and groundhogs. See all those animals. I mean, you don't see the bobcats very often, but you hear them. You know they're there.
Yeah.
But as far as booger sounds, I've been up here since 2003, and I haven't heard anything that I even thought might have been a booger.
Really?
I think there's not enough water up here for one thing, and they can go down off this mountain to the west. They cross Flint River, which is a tributary of the Tennessee, fair-sized river. And then if you go back off to the east, there's Paint Rock River, which is a tributary of the Tennessee. Paint Rock runs into Gunnersville Lake above Gunnersville Dam, and Flint runs into Wheeler Reservoir below Gunnersville Dam. So there's plenty of water for them without them being on top of these mountains and having to go up and down and take a chance of skylining themselves.
Yeah.
They don't like to be skylined.
I don't think the mountain
is a hole or a ravine or a ditch in a heartbeat.
I don't think the mountainous areas is the best areas for them anyway. I definitely think they prefer the swampy lower areas, but it's got to have the water.
Yeah,
it's got to have the water.
Is being that they're lowland animals. Even the deer, people come up on this mountain and hunt deer, but most of them that they kill on the slopes. They kill very few on top.
Yeah, of course. People are going to give me hell if we don't go back and talk about, since you got a good look at the big boy in your headlights, would you describe him as best you can?
Oh, he was 4 feet or better across the shoulders. Very, very thick. I'd guesstimate well over 1,000 pounds. At least 10 feet tall. A head as big as what we used to call the old black cast iron washpot. A head like that, sitting down on his shoulders, no neck. I could not see his eyes because he had his arm up like I'm holding mine to block my headlights. But I could see his teeth, and they were big and square, except he had pointed canines. 2 in the top jaw and 2 in the lower jaw. But his facial shape, I couldn't get a good look at his nose, as that big hairy arm was blocking it. But he didn't seem to have a long muzzle like some of them. He was more humanoid looking. Very dark in color. I would say dark brown or black, guessing. Well, most of what I could see was wet. His arm was wet that he had in front of his face, and his lower extremities, his legs, and below his waist were wet because he'd been squatting down in water that was probably between 2.5 3 feet deep. Because when he stood up, he was in water that was up near his knees. And very male. I mean, I won't go into details, but Black Angus bull wouldn't have been ashamed to be carrying what this guy was carrying. And absolutely no doubt in my mind that he's a big, dominant, if not the alpha, a dominant male in the clan. He was absolutely freaking huge.
But so some details, and a lot of times I skip over the descriptions of these things all the time, and you have to forgive me. I don't really care. I know that they're there, and I mean, I don't feel the need to go into it. But since you got a good look at them, let me run over a couple things real quick. How long was the hair on the head compared to the rest of the body?
I would say 5-6 inches, but it was like it was brushed down. It wasn't sticking out wild like Doc Brown on Back to the Future. He looked semi-groomed on his head, and the hair on his arms looked pretty wild. It was going every which way, and legs too. But it was still, you could see the muscular definition and formation in his arms and legs, especially that when he had over his face. I mean, that his arm from the elbow to the wrist was as big as my thigh. You know, and I'm not a skinny guy. I weigh 220 pounds. You know, my legs are pretty good size. But the muscle, you could see the muscles rippling when he moved.
Well, did it appear that his forearm section was longer than his bicep area? Do you remember?
Well, I could see he had his was his left arm he had over his face. I could see his right arm, and it was the fingers would have been very near, if not below the knees, and him standing straight up. I mean, his arms were long.
Yes.
This definitely wasn't some big guy in a monkey suit. Especially not at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you know, cold enough you see steam off the breath, squatting down in the river water. You know, this obviously was an animal. It wasn't. There wasn't anything. Any hoax never crossed my mind, especially when I saw the other two.
What was he? Barrel chested? Was he V cut?
Barrel chested, but he was slim waisted.
Really?
He was compared to his chest, he came down almost like an hourglass, like a bodybuilder doing that most muscular pose. You know how the chest kind of tapers to the waist. This thing could have bench pressed a Peugeot, you know, or Volkswagen. It was no doubt in my mind. This is a creature that is powerful.
It could have gotten you out of that truck if it wanted to.
Oh, the three of them could have put me trucking all in the river. There's no doubt in my mind. That's why, you know, when flight and fight kicked in, flight won. Fight never had a chance, you know. Fight never had a chance. I mean, beside the thermal and the low light camera and the night vision goggle I had there, monocular, that I had sitting on the seat beside me was a 40 Sig Sauer pistol. I never thought about any of that stuff. All I thought about is he wants me to leave, and I'm going to oblige him.
Yeah.
So I did. You know,
I'm
not going to apologize for it. I was there.
When you caught the glimpse or a flash, that might have been one in Oklahoma. Were you in like roughly what area? Were you in Purgatory or the Anadarko area?
We were down right outside Sulphur by one of those lakes. There was a boat ramp there and a nature trail. And I had walked away from the group because we had a pretty good sized group out there. Kumbo probably tell you exactly how many was in it, but I'm going to say between 10 and 15 people. Well, you got that many people together, they can't be quiet. So I had walked away. I didn't at that time. That was my first expedition. You know, I didn't have a thermal. I didn't have a night vision scope. I had a bright LED flashlight in my pocket and that 40 caliber pistol on my belt, and that was it. Well, I had walked away to where I could see down this nature trail, and it was paved from the parking lot with asphalt for a ways, and then it turned into a gravel trail. Well, I didn't realize it, but when I walked away from the group, I had positioned myself. There was a bush between me and the where the trail came out of the woods. So I actually couldn't be seen from that part of the trail. Well, this thing, I could see a black shadow moving, and we didn't have a lot of ambient light that night. It was very dark. This thing was easing along beside the bush on the side of the trail. Well, I could see something moving, but all I could see was a black shadow. And like I said, I got no thermal, I got no night vision. So I just waited till I couldn't stand it anymore, and I lit him up with that LED flashlight. Well, as soon as the light hit him, he dropped. Just dropped to a prone position and went backwards into a cedar bush, just like a crawfish. You know how they'll move backwards. And about that fast. So the whole visual I had with him in the light was less than a second. So my mind said, did you just see what you thought you saw? I just no, I'm not going to tell anybody, you know, that I saw one. Well, everybody saw the light came on when they came over there. Kumbo and one of the other gentlemen, I can't think of who it was right off the top of my head. They looked at me and they said, "Are you all right?" So apparently, I looked rattled. Quite frankly, I was rattled. But that thing was gone just that quick. Just boom, he was gone. And I went for over a year. You know, did I see what I saw or did I not see what I saw? Was I out here trying to see something? Was my mind trying to, you know, play tricks on me?
Yeah.
He actually see something. So I just kind of denied it. But once I saw those others, I knew what I had seen. You know, there was no doubt in my mind. And that one was a juvie. I'm going to say 5.5 feet tall, maybe 200 pounds. Not a big creature at all. Slender, you know. But I only saw it for a second. So the details are scarce, but not much taller than me. Probably not as heavy as me. I'm 5'6". You know.
What?
But that thing, like I said, when the light hit it, it hit the ground and it backed up in that bush and it was gone.
So the one in Oklahoma, the one at the wildlife management area. Other than that, I mean, you've been to Kumbo's property before, and you've been out with Kumbo and Greg and a bunch of the other people that we all know and everything. What do you, if you could, I guess if you've been doing this since 2000 and what did you say, 17?
Yep.
You really started looking into it. You've been doing this about as long as I might have been doing it a little bit longer than you then, but in your whole time period here, was the seeing the big boy and the two behind you, was that like one of the scariest?
Well, looking back on it, I never really felt like I was in danger. Okay. It's like standing on top of a cliff looking down. You realize that there's a danger there, but you're not afraid because there's a guardrail or you're far enough away from the edge.
Yeah.
That situation was, okay, I'm there. It's the middle of the night. My wife knows I'm over here somewhere, but she don't know how to get there. Nobody knows where I am. If these things want to do away with me, I'm a gone goose.
Yeah.
But I never, looking back on it, I never really felt threatened. Other than screaming, the big guy screaming, they never did anything. Nothing was thrown. Nothing chased me as far as I know. Now, once I turned that truck around, I wasn't watching the mirrors. I was watching the road.
Right.
I was leaving, you know. I was on a mission. And they may have chased me all the way. They may have chased me out on the paved road. I don't know. But I never felt physically threatened, but I did feel viscerally scared.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way I know to describe it.
Yeah. And, get my ass out of there.
One other time, I was down at in Wheeler Wildlife Refuge on the north side of the river between the Huntsville Airport and Decatur, Alabama. If you want to look on the map, you can get an idea of the general area I was in. And I had one bluff charge me through the woods. But there was a big, thick clump of privet hedge on the side of the road. And once he got to that and realized if I go through this, I'm going to be exposed, he stopped. And I could hear him snorting and breathing hard. I'm assuming it was a male because he came through the woods, sounded like a steamroller, breaking limbs. I mean, he come, as Greg would say, he come in hot and he was not happy. But he never broke out into the road. And I'm on the other side of the two track in a clearing, parked, and the other side of my truck with the door open and the truck running. So if he came through, I was going to leave. But he ran right up to the edge of it. I mean, I could see the bushes moving, but I couldn't see him.
What?
And this was in daylight. This was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
What were you doing that he come in and bluff charge? Were you doing?
I called him in.
You called him?
I called him
in the middle of the day.
In the middle of the day, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I didn't know no better.
Huh. I can't believe he answered.
Oh, he answered. There's a big swamp down there, and if you look at it on Google Earth, you'll see what I'm talking about. He came out of the deep area in that swamp, and he came to see who threatened him.
Yep.
And when he figured out, okay, he's out here, he's got one of them metal things, running. He ain't a booger. I done run all this way for nothing. It's like he ran up in the bushes and he's catching his breath. He's breathing there. He's going, ruh, ruh, and he's like, ruh, and then I heard him moving away. Like, dang it, I wanted to fight and there ain't nobody here to fight. That's just one of them hairless ones. Because that area I was researching, I wasn't the only one down there messing with them. There were several in there were messing with them. One guy's in there pretty much every day. If I called his name, you'd recognize it. Greg knows who it was. He's moved to Florida now, this guy.
Yeah. Hey, Jimmy, you want to elaborate on you and Coonbo when y'all had the one in the thermal and then you kept it with the light?
Yeah.
I tell you guys, I'm not into woo, okay? I believe that the boogers are flesh and blood. They can breed and bleed and die and all that stuff and eat and poop and everything that any other animal does. But Tim and I went up. I'm not sure if we were in Lauderdale or Limestone County, Alabama. I think we were in Lauderdale because we were west of the Elk River, and the Elk River is the county line for a lot of the area through there. We got up at the end of the county road, and basically I think somebody had a weekend place maybe down on the river. We were up on a hill overlooking the river, and where we parked was paved, but there was a gravel road that went down toward the river through a pasture and in the woods on both sides, and there was a metal gate there. Well, we don't trespass. We'll stay on the county road. We might get in the edge of a cotton field or a bean field or something, but we don't just go walking around but crossing fences and gates. So we get up there and we shut the truck off. We listened for a few minutes, and it was a lot of ambient light. We had a good moon, a lot of stars. It was clear, so we could see pretty well. And just to the south of us, there was an old building. I think it was a machinery shed, farmers, like a tractor shed. Part of it was enclosed, and there was some old pallets and stacks of old wood and stuff where they've been cleaning up, and several old oil drums over there. And to the left, it just kind of was, to the other side, the north, is kind of a circle gravel driveway at the end of the paved road. We got out there and we listened for a while, and we didn't hear anything. And Tim made a call. A few minutes later, we got an answer. Okay, this is good. It was down near the river to the east of us. He made another call a few minutes later, and it was obvious that when it answered that it was moving toward us. Well, we both had thermals, and we got looking with our thermal, and we picked up one coming up the gravel road through the pasture. Pretty good sized creature, and you could tell it was bipedal, and it was hot. It was moving, and got to looking around. Of course, we try to watch each other's backs because where there's one, there's usually more than one. I picked up another one to the southeast in the wood line, and it was moving around toward the old tractor shed, whatever it was. There's a building over there that it obviously wasn't a dwelling, though it might have been one at one time made over, But anyway, it was moving through the woods toward us that way, and so I'm kind of watching it. And we're both watching the one coming up up the road, the gravel road through the pasture there, and we're looking at that thing, and it's getting closer and closer. And we can tell this is a pretty good sized critter, and like I said, we're still watching the one that's to the south of us, trying to make sure we don't get flanked or anything. And we've decided, this thing's close enough. We ought to be able to see it by now. As much light as there is, we're looking through the thermal, man. It's lit up like a Christmas tree. And we even traded thermals. I looked through his, and he looked through mine. We did that several times. Yeah, that's definitely a booger. He's coming our way. How close we gonna let him get, before we decide to seed the deal to him and go on? Because we knew we got another one coming up the side, and it's not as big, and it's in the edge of the woods. But we could hear that one, the one that come through the woods. We could hear it making noise. The one coming up through the pastures, walking on the river gravel road, he basically silent. Anyway, long story short, all right, why can't we see this thing? Look at it through the thermal. There it is, big and bright. Look at it through the Mark I eyeball. You can't see nothing. I told Tim, I said, something's not right here. So he had a pretty good flashlight, and I had the same little old LED, pretty bright pocket light. I said, let's do a 3 count, light him up. So we counted down, 3, 2, 1, flipped the lights on. There ain't nothing there. Look back through the thermal. There it is. It stopped when we put the light. He's standing there, kind of swaying. Look back, got the lights on it. Can't see a cotton picking thing. Crazy weird. I told Tim, I said, you see what I see? Yeah. So let me see your thermal. We swapped thermals again. I look through his, I can see it. He looks through mine, he can see it. We look through it with the lights. It's it's still standing there in the thermal, but we look at it in the light, can't see a cotton picking thing. And we had enough light on it, we should have been able to see a shadow. I can't explain it. We, of course, we're trying to figure out what's going on with this booger we can see in the thermal, can't see the light, and the one to the south sneaking around, and we lost track of it. I said, okay, it's probably time for us to go.
Don't know where the other
Long
one
story
is.
short, we're working our way back to the truck, which is pointed back out. We turned around and pointed back out the paved road, and we're backing up and looking. That thing, it's just like it. Y'all may be old. Greg, you're old enough to remember. Remember the old tube type televisions when you turned them off and the picture just shrank down to a dot in the middle and then disappeared?
Yeah.
That's what this booger did in the thermal. That's what it looked like to me. That's what it reminded me of. And I don't like the idea of portals. I don't like the idea of interdimensional. But we had a booger we could see on thermal and we could not see with lights on it. And till this day, I can't not wrap my head around it. I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about it sometimes. It bothers me.
That bothered me.
I mean, well, I never felt like I was in any danger other than the fact that, I got one sneaking up. They're trying to flank us. What are they going to do if they flank us? Probably just scare the crap out of us. But, we got gone before that happened. But Tim and I have talked about that several times in the time since then, and we still don't know exactly what we saw that we didn't see. I mean, that's the only way I know to describe it. You see it in thermal, it's hot, it's standing there, you can make out details, you can see its head, you can see its arms, you can see the hot spots on its body where its nose and its mouth, and where the blood's close to the surface, you can see the hotter spots in the thermal and the outline of the animal, the creature, but you can't see it with a light on it. Can't answer. Not gonna try. Maybe when I get to heaven, the Lord can explain it to me. I don't think anybody's going to in the meantime.
Well, Jimmy, since we're talking about the woo factor of it, you care to elaborate on these people, what it's like when you've been with Coonbo, and I've been there with you too, about what the Shofar can do?
Oh man, let me just say this. I never said this to Tim. I love him like a brother. That thing made me nervous from the get-go. And when he decided not to use it anymore, there was nobody happier than me. Because he would blow that thing, and when he'd hit that right note, I mean, and if you ever was there, you know, it sounded like a goat bleating, and then he'd hit that perfectly clear musical note, and you knew that, okay, that's it, and that's when the action would start. And we were up at LBL down on an old road in a creek bottom, and he blew that thing, and several of them responded, and it was like they just lined up for inspection, waiting for the next order. Okay, Tim, you got them here. You know, they're waiting for you to tell them what to do. Please don't blow the wrong note. You know, we don't. I have no idea why they. You know, evidently the note he hit was the assemble note. Okay, what's the next note, and what happens? You know, what are they assembled?
Symbol note. Formation.
That made me as nervous as I've been, I guess, on an outing.
Yeah.
Was when Tim was blowing the shofar.
Yeah, we have one too, and it makes me nervous.
I guess you told him about when he'd blow his horn louder than he blew the shofar.
I didn't elaborate on his butt bugle when he strained too hard trying to blow the shofar.
That was funny. I don't know who it was. We were at that same spot up there at LBL, and he blew the shofar and his butt trumpet at the same time, and and somebody told him maybe, you know, since he seemed to have more pressure behind him, maybe he should use the shofar on the other end.
That's the way we always do.
When he hears this, but that's okay. I love him.
That's the way we always knew he was really trying. We was straining.
Yeah.
Jimmy, tell them. So they've heard me and Coonbo talk about it, and I think they've heard Alan. But you're on here. Tell them how high in the air that Dodge truck went when it went over the logs.
Oh, that's another one that was down in the Wheeler Wildlife Refuge too, just east of Decatur, Alabama, on the south side of the river. There's that's actually an old mussel camp we went to down there.
Yeah.
They used to camp there, and they would harvest mussel shells. They made buttons and stuff out of them years ago. But that was the old mussel camp road. Well, we went in there, and actually that was the day that Coonbo turned me into a pinball in his new truck.
Yep.
We're driving along down there on one of those refuge roads, and there was an old metal culvert that had rusted away. It wasn't nothing holding underneath. And when he got the right rear wheel on it, it just caved in. And I'm bad about when going slow about not fastening the seat belt. I don't know exactly what happened. Greg was behind us in his Dodge, but I hit everything on the inside of that truck at least once, like a pinball. And I think Greg said he could see under the truck and thought we was going to go over.
Yeah, it nearly rolled.
But Tim, he gassed it. Somehow we came up out of that. Well, that was the same night. We went into the mussel camp, and there was 3 pretty good-sized trees across the road there. 2 of them were real close together, and one of them was, I don't know, 8, 10 feet further, 6 feet. Yeah, we'd had some bad storms, tornadoes, and then like straight line wind that knocked down these trees. We went in there and decided we could get the trucks across and go on to the mussel camp. When we got done, we'd come back out and see if we could drag trees out of the road. So we get down, hippity-hop the trucks, both of them 4-wheel drive, hippity-hop the trucks across the trees and got down there to the edge of the Tennessee River, the old mussel camp, turned around, pointed out for a quick getaway. I can't remember. Greg, tell me, did he blow the shofar down there, or did he just make a call?
Yeah, he shofared it that night. Remember, he called a couple of times and we get nothing. He broke that stupid demon.
Right. I've been on so many of these trips, and I had open heart surgery in 22, and a lot of those memories didn't survive that anesthesia. as far as details go. But anyway, he blew the shofar a couple of times, and we had a booger coming from the southwest down that riverbank toward us, and he was not happy. I mean, he was moving fast, and he was screaming and running through the cornfield, running through the edge of the cornfield and breaking trees. And I mean, he was coming in there. The second time I think that Tim got an answer from him, he done halved the distance of where he was first time. And the first time he was probably at least a mile or more further down the river. The second time he was maybe a half mile at that. And the third time he hollered, he sounded like he was fixing to bust out on us. Well, in the meantime, between here and the booger, we heard what sounded like somebody's, Marcel Ledbetter's old log truck coming down the road, coming in the way we come in. And it was an older Dodge Ram 4-wheel drive pickup, jacked up with big tires and wheels on it. And I'm pretty sure it had straight pipe exhaust. It's a diesel. And it sounded like a log truck. It's rawr, brr, rawr. You hear the booger running, he's screaming, and log truck's running, it's screaming. Well, the log truck comes down there, and then all of a sudden, I mean, it just sounds like he's about trying to blow it up. And apparently he got hung up on them trees trying to come in there. Well, what we going to do? We got to go out the same way we come in, and he's got the truck hung up on the trees. We heard him when he got the truck loose, and he came down there where we were. Well, about the time he got past Kumbo's truck, Kumbo shot out, and Greg followed him, and we went back out. Well, we're going to we're going to leave before that booger gets there because he's mad. He's coming in. We done got his attention. We know what it is. We don't want to wait to see him because by the time we wait to see him, it's going to be too late to leave. Because he was hot. I mean, he's screaming hot and tearing down corn and just acting a fool. So, the white Dodge truck comes in. Kumbo shoots the gap and goes out. Greg right behind him. We go back out, park there, and we're going to clear the trees out of the road. Well, apparently, about the time the guy got down on the river good with his truck, the booger busted out of the woods on him. That's the only thing I can say. Because we heard that thing revved up as tight as I've ever heard a diesel truck rev coming back up that gravel road. And we're on either side of the track, with the trucks. He came through there and shot across them logs and went airborne like the Dukes of Hazzard. And that thing hit in the ditch on the other side. And I don't know how in the world he kept rolling it. Anyway, he never did check up. He hit the ditch and come out of the ditch sideways. And, I don't remember if we even fooled around and got the trees out of the road or not.
No, we gave up on the trees.
Anyway, that was an interesting situation there because I'd give $100 to interview that old boy and just see what he saw. But I'm pretty sure he got his mule scared, this old saying goes. But if anybody got any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them.
I don't know. I haven't. Squirrel, have you been paying attention? Oh, I know one that somebody did ask. Anything about Dogman? You ever seen Dogman?
Never seen the Dogman. I'm pretty sure I heard one at LBL.
Yeah, that recording. Yeah, that Cheryl has. Yeah,
right next to Kumbo when they made that recording.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I think you can hear my voice. I say, "That's your Dogman."
It might be. I forget about that.
But I was standing right there when that recording was made, and it did. There was several of us there that night, and when that thing went to raising Cain, everybody got closer to the truck. Nobody was real obvious about it, but everybody was kind of doing the side shuffle.
That was
the truck.
Hey, that was a Shofar night too, wasn't it? With the Dogman call?
Yes, it was.
Well,
and it was interesting because we talked to a park ranger on that trip and asked him if they'd gotten all the wolves out of LBL. And he informed us that there weren't any wolves left in LBL. Well, I don't know what we heard that night, But when that thing howled, it set off every coyote in 2 counties. And I know the difference between a coyote and something else. That
Yes.
wasn't a coyote.
I
But
know
it
that.
sure set the coyotes off.
I
So
know that on a
either they
spectrograph,
wolf or there's something else wolfish strolling around out there in them woods.
on a spectrograph, it did not match a booger signature, and it definitely was not a coyote.
No, it didn't sound like any booger I'd ever heard.
No.
But that's my experience with Dogman. And I'll be honest with you, I'm 67 years old. If I live out the rest of my life and never hear another, I'll be fine with that.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that sentiment. I don't. Yeah, Lisa said you can definitely tell the difference. Yeah. I don't know. Did you see any other questions, Squirrel?
I don't think so. That's what I was looking for.
You get started. I'm gonna drive my ass down to North Carolina, pick you up, and drag you out there with me. Jim, has that happened any time again? Being able to see the Bigfoot through the thermal and not the other device? It wasn't the other device; it was with their bare eyes.
That's
They
a
could see.
one-time thing for me. And I'm so glad that I was with Tim, because he's got some credibility. I don't know if I would have told that story if I hadn't had somebody there to witness to back me up, because it's so unbelievable, you know. It makes you question everything you know. I mean, I've been doing that ever since I saw my first booger, but I've seen enough of them since then that any doubts I had are gone. But that whole deal with, okay, I can see it with a thermal, but I can't see it with the old Mark I eyeball, that bothers me.
Well, we had that happen at LBL when we pulled up. We just swore we seen stuff on the thermal. It was Larry and Debbie and several of us, and it went from seeing it to it ducked down in the tall grass. That it was it and deer. To you couldn't even find it on the thermal anymore. It wouldn't even show a heat signature. It's like it just ducked down and was gone.
I mentioned that we had seen what we thought was a female and a young one over at that wildlife management area on the river in Jackson County. We actually lost them on thermal, but we had walked out in the field in the general area where we had seen them, and the field, it was a pasture field. It was a grassy field, but it was flooded. We walked up, and Tim Smallwood actually walked in over top of his boots and got his feet wet. And I think what happened when they realized that we were approaching them, that they flopped over in that cold water, because we lost the thermal signature completely. Went from walking away from us and what appeared to be walking from left to right, what appeared to be a full-grown animal and a small one beside it, like it was walking a tot, holding it by its hand. And then we heard a splash, but there's fish and ducks, and that whole area is swampy and low. It's a marshy area on the banks of the Tennessee River. And I think it just flopped over in the water and got cool enough we couldn't see it anymore through the thermal, because we were still probably 150 yards plus away from it when we lost it. So, I think they have an idea that you can see them. And when they think you can see them, they do whatever they can to hide themselves.
Jimmy, just if you don't care, just because squirrel's pretty prone to meander off, tell her the story about Smallwood when he dove off the mountain over at Mentone.
Yeah, we were over at Mentone, Alabama one night with another friend who is now an Alabama law enforcement state trooper. At this time, he was just a young man, just graduated high school, about to go into the Army. But the three of us were up there on the brow of the mountain at Mentone, which is a lookout mountain on one side of the valley. And we're actually on the upper end of Sand Mountain. But anyway, you look off that cliff, you're looking down at Interstate 59, and you've been through there at the Fort Payne area. Spencer, so you know what those mountains are like. You're in the valley on the interstate going through there. We're up on top of the mountain, and we catch one on thermal. Well, Tim takes off toward it. Well, I've got thermal. I got two lanyards. I got my thermal on one, and I've got my night vision scope on the other one. So I'm looking through the night vision and then alternating. Well, once I picked it up on thermal, I looked at it through the night vision, and this was a juvie, about 6 foot tall, maybe 250 pounds. And Tim takes off. He's going to run over there and get as close to it as he can. And this thing runs between two rocks that are as big as some houses. And there's a cleft in the rocks, and there's a tree there about 6 inches diameter, maybe 20 feet tall. And that's kind of a little path or a drainage that goes in between those rocks and goes off the cliff. And the booger went that way. And I yelled at Tim, "Stop, you're going to run off the mountain." Well, he keeps going. So I jacked around into my sig sauer and said, "If you don't stop, I'm going to kneecap you." Because I said, that thing could be hanging right there by that rock and throw you off the cliff. Anyway, he decides to stop. He wanted to see one so bad. I said, just come and look at it through the thermal, look at it through my night vision scope. No, he runs at a dead run at a 200-foot plus drop off. And I had to tell him, "Bubba, don't do that to me. I don't want to have to tell your widow what happened to you."
See, that's why we need to invest in a shock collar for squirrel.
Yep.
But it can happen so easy and not even realize it if you don't know your area.
Yeah, that situational awareness is absolutely a necessity when you're Bigfooting.
One of the
You don't want to get too much brush between you and the people that are with you. There's safety in numbers, folks. Just
100%. Yes.
hey,
Look, I got to tell you, like I tell them, do as I say, not as I do, because I don't even listen to my own advice.
the people that do the reckless stuff are the people that have not really experienced them or been around them. They're the ones prone to do the reckless. No, not you. You're just stupid. But,
well, I was going to say we're not even really we're not even talking about a Bigfoot about what happened. We're talking about just what we done in general over the weekend. So it doesn't even involve Bigfoot really. It kind of does. But
you can woulda, coulda, shoulda yourself to death. I keep thinking about there's people that they spend years and years and tens of thousands of dollars trying to see what I saw over there in the shadow of that bridge that night. And I left less than a minute into the whole thing. I didn't hang around. And there's people that, you should have got out and taken pictures. You weren't there. You didn't see this thing. He's screaming at me. He's telling me, "Okay, you busted my hunt. You really need to go before I get angry with you." He's letting me know he don't want me there. Okay, I'm leaving. I'm in his house. If I was at my house, I might have been belligerent too, but I was at his house.
Yeah.
well, you said there was somebody that was going in and out almost every day, and then other researchers too. He probably was pissed off. He's probably tired of everybody coming in there and messing around with him. And
people go, that area people hunt all the time. And I guess he figured since it was flooded, they'd be safe to come out and do their hickey,
Hey, that's what he was screaming about. Hey, you showed up and he was like, "Son of a bitch."
You're too dumb to know that, you're not supposed to be here when it's flooded. Yeah.
He's like, "Can I not get some peace around here?"
Yeah, he sort of had that. I'm trying to teach these knuckleheads over here how to fish.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
It's awesome.
But I'll be honest with you, that was a lot of meat on the hoof. Those three things, those three boogers were big old boys.
Jim, do you stay close to the truck when out researching?
Generally, I do, not always. Depends on how open the area is.
There's a difference. Now, let me make this point. there's a difference between researching and looking around than they are trying to provoke a response to these things.
Yeah, and let me expand on that a little bit. It's good enough for me to know that they're there. I don't have to see them up close and personal. I don't have to hug their neck or give them some sugar. Just knowing that they're there is good enough for me. Sometimes, a good run's better than a bad stand.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what I'm talking about though is like if you're going and looking for tracks and you're looking for tree breaks and looking at the area, yeah, you'll get away from the truck.
Right.
But if you're going to go try to call these things up and provoke a response, you better be close to a vehicle.
Yes, 100%.
To further answer that question, if it's dark, I'm usually pretty close to the truck. If it's daylight, I might be 300-400 yards or further away from the truck.
Yeah.
I think it's more along the lines of what Greg said. If you're calling, if you're calling and you know what you're doing and you're provoking them, because we all know that if you do the call the right way, if they're there, they're going to come see you because you're calling. In that situation, yes, you should be close to a vehicle. At least that's my opinion on it. Having said that, my dumb ass has been with other people, porch included, where we've been miles out in the middle of the woods and done calls.
Yeah, that's that would have been me 25 years ago, not anymore. If I'd started doing it when I was young, I would probably be one of those, missing.
That's right. Yeah.
That they never found because, back then I was 10 foot tall and bulletproof. But, I like to think I've gotten a little wiser as I got older.
Can't wait for the Bigfoot to get dwindled.
Yeah. Yes.
What'd she say? Dang it.
If you don't stop.
You stop. Leave it alone. A friend of mine had a tree root tossed on his hood.
Well, Virex has got a question.
Which of your encounters stands out as your hands down favorite?
All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the old saying, a bad day fishing's better than a good day working. If you're out in the fresh air and, you're doing something that you love, especially if it scares you a little bit. I've always been a little bit of an adrenaline junkie. I always rode the biggest roller coasters and picked the curviest roads to ride my motorcycle on and stuff. But like I said, as I've gotten older, it doesn't take as much to excite me as it used to. But just being out there in it, and especially I enjoy the people part of it now. I've made some great friends in the Bigfoot world, and some of the best friends I have in this world are people that I've met since I started researching Bigfoot. People that came to see me while I was sick in the hospital when, people I'd known my whole life didn't bother. Things like that. You can tell the difference. There's a few knuckleheads in every group, but the majority of the people I've met are just really good to their people. And I love the fact that I've had the opportunity to meet and get to know them.
Yep. I agree completely with that.
Me too, except for Spencer. He's just a mouse.
Don't kid yourself.
I don't know how I got stuck with him.
You know you love me. Well, we're an hour and a half in. Anybody else? Any other questions before we wrap it?
I'm just glad we finally got Jimmy to come over here.
Only took 3 years. I'm not seeing anything. People like Coonbow that drive.
I was looking.
That's right. Yes, Gary. Which I don't know if you saw it, Jim. I'm sure you've met Gary Spikes. I know you had to meet him at one of the meet and greets, but anyway, did you see whenever Kumbo and Sandy drove Gary back home not that long ago? That's what he
Yes,
was referring to.
I talked to Kumbo just a day or two after that happened.
What
It didn't surprise me at all. Not at all.
did you see Gary's comment though, that where you were talking about with the fishing? Was it the fishing? It was in Oklahoma. Whatever you were down by the
Down by the lake, yeah.
by the boat ramp, Gary was saying that's only 20 miles away from his house.
Okay. Yeah, we were right outside Sulphur on that trip, and I really enjoyed it. The only problem was my truck was giving me a fit, and I missed out on one of the booger sightings because I had my head under my hood trying to make chicken soup out of chicken poop. I wound up driving that truck back from Ardmore. I had got a room in Ardmore because I didn't know if I could deal with camping or not. And I drove my truck back from Ardmore to Alabama without shutting it off, because every time I'd shut it off, I'd have to put another battery in it. Or I even had a spare battery in the bed. Wound up being a bad ground cable, but I worked on that truck from on the way out. It died on me in the middle of I-40 in West Memphis, Arkansas. It died on me right outside Antlers, Oklahoma. I got it started and got to Hugo. I think it was Hugo, and bought an alternator and a new battery, and actually toasted the alternator overnight. The next day, I went to another AutoZone or Advance or where it was, traded it in and got a new one. Toasted it as well. So I'm charging both batteries. Got the truck parked in front of the hotel room, and charging the batteries overnight and unhooking the battery. And anyway, I decided when I went home, okay, I'm not going to shut this puppy off. I stopped, got an extra key made, and I would, if I had to stop, get gas, or stop for a bathroom break, I just lock the truck doors, go inside and do what I had to do. And anyway, long story short, found out I had a bad ground cable. That's all it took to fix it when I got it home. But we were outside. Y'all may have heard the story about the booger outside the casino there in Oklahoma. Well, I'm got my head under the hood of the truck, and everybody else watched the booger run across the road.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that's where Mary Fabian was there.
Mary Fabian was the one that saw it to start with, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kumbo and Jim Sharp, I think, and myself had our heads under the truck trying to figure out what we need to do next.
I remember him saying something about that. I did not know that was you and your truck.
That was me. That was the road trip from the Hadean realm.
Hey, just so everybody knows, that's not to be confused. That's not the famous where the booger come under the light and was getting in the. It wasn't a dumpster. It was a grease pit at the casino where they had it on videotape and they got rid of the tape. It's different. It's a different sighting.
It's a different sighting, but it's the same casino.
Yeah, same casino. Damn, Ricky got to see that video, I think. Pretty positive.
Well, it was on the internet for quite a while before they took it down.
No way. Was it?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't get to see it.
I didn't see it either.
You think it's all the lights and just so many people in and out so much that maybe attracts them to the casinos?
He was getting. They were getting in the grease trap, the grease disposal from the kitchen where they were frying all the food inside the casino.
That one was too?
Well, no, but the boogers are right there in that area. That's why they were over there looking at it.
Just the parking area just carved out of the woods. It's out in the middle of nowhere.
Hmm.
Oh, okay.
So
gotcha.
That means they don't get the Grand Old Opry till Tuesday.
Yes, it's because of all the people and they want to play blackjack. That's why they're
Well,
there.
yeah. Hey, you never know. I mean, shit. I like that.
But as
Uh,
far as, you talk about the grease trap at the casino,
Yeah.
boogers will eat axle grease. There's been several reports of them where they were logging or something, and they'd have these big barrels full of axle grease to grease the skidders and the loaders and all the stuff they use to log with, and they'd find fingerprints where they'd reached in there and got them a big gob of just axle grease.
It don't surprise me. It's like Greg, I never thought about it, but whenever Greg talked about the fish fry, the pot on the back, and then picking that up and drinking that, it makes perfect sense.
Well, I don't know this was a booger or not, but it was attributed to a booger. A gentleman who I don't have permission to use his name, so I won't. But he lived in the same general area in North Alabama that I do. He always poured his bacon grease and leftover, kitchen grease on a stump in his backyard about 100 feet from the house. He did that for years. He poured the grease on the stump. And something just tore the stump all to pieces, literally shredded it, and carried most of it away one night, over one night. One day it was there, the next day it was just wrecked. And he's always believed it was a booger. And I've seen the remains. I didn't see it beforehand, but it was a pretty good sized pine stump that he poured, all the fish grease, French fry grease, whatever he cooked it, he poured the old grease out when it got, gnarly on that stump. And that something finally decided, okay, I'm taking that with me.
I saw pictures. Yeah, I think it was. I think Kumbo showed me the pictures of where they pissed on that tree.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've been there.
And, like, it doesn't make sense whenever you explain to somebody. I know I didn't visualize it like that. It doesn't make sense whenever you say, no, there was a whole tree and then it was tore apart and like shredded, looked like a bomb went off. But I mean, anything that can do that, that's some physical. There ain't nothing you can do about that. I mean, those were trees that were splintered and shred apart.
Yeah, I've been to that. That's over in Mississippi. I've been to that location a couple of times. That's another place that is eat up with boogers. Is eastern Mississippi, down the Tennessee Tom Bigby Waterway.
Uh-huh.
That area is lousy with them. I've been to the area where Kumbo lived in the mobile home, and I've been to the area where he lived in the camper, and we had boogers on us both nights.
I can believe it. Well, guys, everyone, please, one more time, go check out the channel right there on the bottom of the screen, the new Night Owls channel. Check out Roger's first show. And, I know what it was. Mark Newbill on Sawdust Beast. Had a brand new documentary, part 1, on Thursday night. It was on. Please go over there and watch that. You're very welcome, Barrett.
So, Misty, do we want to go ahead and set the time for 11 Eastern, 10 Central?
God, I don't know. Y'all are killing me.
Come on now. Wendell's done got it tipped in stone.
Wendell done set it up and ask Wendell what time we're doing it.
Yeah.
Wendell ain't the one that's got to run the thing.
Oh, Lord.
Hey, y'all take it easy on Wendell. Now, that's my buddy.
Hey,
Man.
we love Wendell, but
We love Wendell.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to learn how to control him some.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sharon. Sawdust Beast.
Misty, I'm gonna just reach out right now. If anybody has got any way to contact or got any information about Ray Dog, please
Yes.
let us know.
I've tried myself. I ain't
Last
got no response.
that we sent a message to her, me and several of us, it came up and said that it declined to send the message. And nobody's heard from her in a while. I know she'd been sick. She had not, I mean, she may not want me to say, but I'm going to because we're all worried about her. Last week heard that she had found out she had stage 4 cancer. And that's been, I guess, probably close to 2 months, maybe.
Something like that.
Nobody's really heard from her in probably about a month, not any of us. So if anybody has or anybody knows anything, would you message us and let us know something for sure?
Yeah, please do, because we are worried about her. And dang sure thank the world of Ray, and we'd just like to know just if anybody's got any info.
Well, thank you, Lene.
Well, hey, thank you. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Well,
Jim, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
It was nice to finally get to meet you, even though Spencer don't never let nobody else talk but himself. No.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it, gang. Good to
I
talk.
missed you, Spencer. I had to. I'm sorry.
No doubt.
she was waiting for the whole show to use that one. You can bet your ass.
Oh my goodness.
I'd have kept quite the whole show just to say something to you. You know it.
Well, Jim, thank you for doing it. Appreciate it very much. Which, guys, just so you know, I mean, it's not like that was tip of the iceberg kind of stuff. Jim's got a lot more to talk about.
Yeah.
Hey, you see Greg every single week on this show. You still have not heard all of Greg's stuff. You don't want to hear most of Misty's stuff, but I'm just saying there's a lot more to it than just what you saw on this little bit. And it took 3 years to get him on for this one show, so you'll probably never hear the rest of the story. But
well, here's the deal. Roger's having a fit to go boogering. So I told me and Kumbo's been talking. We got to get Osmer, maybe me and Roger and Osmer and Kumbo can go boogering when it cools off a little bit, and then maybe we'll have something really good to tell.
Yep. We usually have a little action when we all get out together.
Yep.
I know one thing. My ass won't get out of the truck without the recorder going before I open the door anymore.
Well, I'll tell you now, my buddy Smallwood has been substituting at Mentone, Alabama. And like I said, told y'all before, he's a rural substitute mail carrier. But up there on that mountain, and it's right on the Georgia line, there are the bears live there all the time. They're not just passing through. There's more deer than there is ticks. You know, it's prime booger habitat, and they are up there. So he's trying to get us a lead on some new areas where we can go. Hopefully, you know, we can get landowner permission. We don't trespass. We just don't not going. But we're trying to get permission to go some new areas and see what we can see.
Speaking of which, whenever I said yesterday, most of the votes yesterday, I said if we do a meet and greet this spring, I said, do you want to do it in Alabama or LBL? Most of the votes were for LBL. So since there's 145 people watching right now, hey guys, leave a comment and tell us whether you would like to have the next meet and greet at LBL or Alabama, because it's hard to find a place big enough to hold that many people. We just have not had a luck.
I've not been able to.
Anthony hasn't. Mark Green hasn't. I've been able to. It's very hard to find a place
The
that big.
problem is, guys, if you can find a place that's big enough to at least allow 50 to 75 people, that's the most of them allow, and they only allow like 3 to 5 vehicles.
Yeah.
And so you have to leave your cars parked at a main area and ride in. So.
And every time we've had well over 100. I mean, we're approaching the point where we'll be getting close to 200 people coming.
And a lot of people have come, you know, just 1 or 2 people to a vehicle. So you can't do that.
we need a big spot. But anyway, leave a comment on that. Jim, thank you very much. Y'all, I appreciate it. Squirrel, glad you didn't get got. House, as always.
Yeah.
Anyway, love y'all. Take care.
My
Bye,
Big love,
y'all.
everybody.
Thanks, Jim.
Bye.
I'll be looking. On the computer, you have to hit okay. Anyway.
Shit, just turn me on, turn me up, and turn me loose.